Hi guys, welcome back to Iron Griffin Studio. I'm going to make a dungeon planter, which sounds weird, but my theory is that enemies such as orks and goblins and things like that would probably grow food somehow. And you know what? You could use this as like a village farm plot, like a raised bed for farm crops and things. So it doesn't have to be just dungeon terrain. You could use this method to do any kind of planter. But I'm going to do a planter, and I think because it's going to go in a dungeon, I think it's probably going to be a fungus farm. That could be cool. Right, let's make a fungus farm. Alright, so to make a stone planter for a dungeon, I figured there was two main ways to make this. The way that I'm going to do it, and then there's, you could make just individual bricks and stick them all together with hot glue or something, but I didn't want too much glue residue sticking out, and I thought this way might be a little bit sturdier, possibly, and probably less time consuming. So just cut out these little score marks where you want the brick textures to be. Make sure the sides are all lined up and that the score marks are all in the same place roughly. You do have a little bit of leniency with this because it's a dungeon, it's nothing fancy, so you can afford to make minor errors in precision, I suppose. So I'm going to alternate where the bricks are going to be on each side. Opposite sides will be the same, as you'll see, and then just take a little beveling tool and bevel those brick textures in properly. Alright, so after doing the bricks there, I actually sliced off the corners a little bit because it was just looking way too square and it was really annoying me, so I thought I'll make it slightly more interesting, cut the corners off a little bit, and I think that improved the look at least 100%. So then it's a matter of using the old aluminium ball there and texturing the hell out of it. You could have done this stage maybe before you glued it all together, but I thought that it was just too brittle and it would have been very difficult to do it without breaking. It's just a bit difficult now to get into the inside bit there with the aluminium ball. Right, so at this point I sort of realised I messed up a little bit. The bed of the planter was a little bit too low. I wanted to raise it up just a scooch, so I used a little bit of foam. It's only maybe 5mm thick or something. Measured it out to the appropriate size and cut it. And this is just so that I didn't have to use as much basing material like sand and filler and things to raise the height of the bed, and this way I could just do it cheaply and quickly and it fit perfectly. Always good to dry fit something before you glue it in place. And then I just use some hot glue to secure it. Okay, now to add a bit of filler to the base. This is just to give it some texture and some weight actually, because this thing is entirely made of foam at the moment and it's very, very lightweight. I wanted it to feel a bit more substantial, give it a bit more strength. So I used a bit of universal filler. It's just the kind of wall filler that you would use to fill cracks in your walls, and I attempted to spread it on with a coffee stirrer, which seemed to be shockingly difficult. So I added a bit of water to it just to make it a bit more of a supple paste, and hopefully that was going to work a little bit better. This took some time to do, honestly. It was a sort of fiddly work, and I think adding just more and more water was the answer to this, because it just made it far more workable, and you just got to use a very fine point and work it into the corners. And while the plaster filler stuff is still wet, I'm going to add some kind of basing sand that I would use on pretty much everything. This is my universal basing sand. I just add it to probably every bit of terrain I've got. All of my models are based in this pretty much, or at least for the most part. And then yeah, so this is kind of just a mixture of sand and bits of ballast and fine grit and all sorts of things that I've acquired over the years. So hopefully this will add a bit more texture to that dirt in the bottom of the planter. Now, honestly, I didn't realise how well the wall filler would cling to that sand, so I added some scenic cement just to make sure that sand really stuck down and didn't come off in the painting process. And then after it was undercoated with Mod Podge and black paint, just a usual mixture that pretty much everybody uses, I think, on foam terrain, I just added some browns and earth tones to certain bricks. I just picked a random brick here and there, just to give it a bit more variation, and then I dry brushed the whole thing with a pretty heavy dry brush of medium grey. Alright, and for the dirt in the bottom of the planter, I'm going to use Earth by Game Colour. Just dampen the edges around the inside, just to help that paint spread around a bit easier. And time for some wash. So I'm going to use the usual black-brown wash that I would use on any other dungeon tile. After all, this stuff is meant to be modular and it's meant to match and be kind of seamless, I suppose, when you put it on the table. So try not to get any of the dirt. I'm going to use a dry brush method on that instead, I think. And yeah, so just work it into all of the detail and the texture that you've added there with the aluminium ball. Kind of stab it into the foam rather than wiping it on or brushing it on, because you get a better texture and it doesn't reactivate the paint underneath. Right, and now with the wash all nice and dry, it's starting to look the part. So I'm going to put some Xandri dust in the middle on the dirt just to lighten it up a little bit and give a bit of definition to that texture. And so just use a normal dry brushing technique for this. Try not to get too much, if any, paint on the brickwork. Now, of course, you can plant anything you want in your planter, but mine is going to be mostly used in dungeons, so I wanted to put fungus in mine, little fungus farm, and I figured this would be the only thing that would really grow in dungeons. But if you want to put, you know, potatoes, carrots or whatever in them just to make them look cool, or if they're going to go outside, then feel free. It's a good idea. I'm going to put some model foliage with bits and things in here with difficulty. A bit of a log in the middle there. The toadstools and that, and the mushrooms, they were all just kind of taken from Games Workshop, orks and goblins sprues mostly. There's some pretty cool bits in there. I just cut them out and stuck them down, and just a few finishing touches and then just about done. I'm pretty happy with it. Yeah, it looks really good. I've had these mushrooms and things sitting around for a while, so I'm enjoying the ability to use some of these bits from my bits box for these videos, so that's very handy for me. It's a small piece. It's only 2 inches by 2 inches. It fits very neatly into a D&D grid square, which is handy. And you could feasibly use these in like an outdoor setting if you wanted to just make it like a village plant or a town raised bed for flowers and things. It'd make any sort of town look pretty cool, quite nice. I'm sure you can modify it to suit your own tastes. Yeah, very cool. Liked it. It was an interesting build, and not it would have been so small. It's like a very mini project, but it was good. Let me know if you enjoyed this video, if you found it useful, entertaining or whatever, and let me know in the comments if you'd like me to tackle something particular in the future, and I will try and get back to you on that. If you enjoyed it, leave a like and a subscribe, comment, ring that bell and tell your friends and stuff, and then hopefully I can get back to you soon with another video. But that's all for this one. I'll see you again next time. Happy crafting.